All right, so let's get into the whole pick, pack, and ship, which is what we came to talk to you about today. Okay, so first let me define some terminology. So in our warehousing system, we give you really two different options for picking and shipping an order. We have a one-step method and a two-step method. Now, the normal one-step method is what we call SO shipping. This is sort of Sage classic functionality. Okay, we just extend that functionality out onto the warehouse floor with the use of a mobile, rugged, Wi-Fi enabled barcode scanning gun. Okay. So you would pick the items, put it in a box, ship it all in one step. So if one person does the process, they get the stuff off the shelf, put it in a box, print the labels, that's the SO shipping that I'm showing here. We also can split that. And this is not a native Sage function. So this is a differentiator for us here at ScanForce. What we can do is pre-pick the orders and stage them. So if you have a situation where you want to work ahead, maybe it's second shift picking something that first shift is going to ship tomorrow, or maybe you've made something for a client, but it doesn't need to ship out for a week or a month. Well, we can pick it and stage it, and it's sort of in a quasi-shipped state. So it's reserved for that customer in that order, and it's sitting on a unique shelf or sitting in a sequestered area of the warehouse, and everyone can see that. And we even write detail back to the sales order to let people know exactly what the situation is. That order's been picked. And then when it comes time to actually ship it, we do this second step called checking and packing. And that's where we actually officially ship the product. So we can pick in two different methods, either all at one time, or we can split it into amongst two different times. Okay. Now, another thing that we can do with picking, if you have a situation where you have multiple line items on an order and you want multiple people to be able to pick simultaneously, or maybe you have different functional areas of your warehouse. Some of our customers have a refrigerated area and a freezer area, two different people. So if I have line items on one order that cross those boundaries, one in the freezer and some in the refrigerator, we can use split picking and we can print two separate pick tickets out of Sage. And it's a A and a B version, like if it's order number 12345A and 12345B on the pick tickets, two different people can take those pick tickets and go and pick those orders simultaneously while not interfering with one another. Another option for picking in ScanForce is wave picking, which is really kind of the exact opposite of split picking. Split picking, I've got one big order and I want to split it amongst people. Wave picking, I'm going to take multiple orders, pull them together so one person can pick them. And a good, for instance, leads directly into what we're talking about today with the StarShip. Let's say UPS shows up at 4:30 every day. Well, if you've got, say, 6 orders that have to go out UPS, you could put those on what we call a wave. A wave is a grouping of orders. And now you can assign that to an individual. And you can say, here, John, it's your responsibility to get all 6 of these orders ready for UPS by 4:30 today. And they're going to show up on his gun and it can say John's wave if you want it to. Okay. Another example would be if you have one customer that has 10 orders and you want to build a truckload going out to them. Well, I can group them all together and pick them and pack them and ship them simultaneously. Okay. The big efficiency gain here is, let's say on those 10 orders going out to one customer or on 10 orders going out via UPS to different customers, what if the same line item is on all 10 of those orders? Well, the traditional method that Sage would have you do is I have a pick ticket for the first order and I'm going to go to that location, pick those items for that order and package them. And then I'm going to take the second order, go back to that same location, and you lather, rinse, repeat all 10 times, and you visited the same place 10 times. Well, with wave picking, we allow you to pick all the items, the quantity that you need at one time, and then split them up later in the process and put them in the appropriate box that they belong to. Okay, so that's a little bit about wave picking. Now, directed picking ties into that, and I call directed picking the crown jewel of the whole warehouse management system. This is where I think some of the most efficiency can be gained. This is where the system, the handheld, can tell the user, go down this aisle, go to this rack, go to this shelf, and get 4 of this product. Okay, it literally directs them exactly where to go. Now, you may say, well, our worker, he's been here for 10 years. He knows all the nooks and crannies where everything is hidden. Well, that's great unless he's out sick. And then what do we do? Okay, who has that institutional knowledge to be able to know exactly where everything is? Or if you hire a new person, are they going to walk in and just instantly know where everything is? Wouldn't it be great if you just handed a scan gun and said, here, start on order number 12345, and it steps them through exactly the footsteps they need to walk? And beyond that, it will also build a serpentine path through your warehouse to pick it in the most efficient way possible. So if there's two line items on aisle B, okay, we're going to go to aisle B in your warehouse one time and get both of them before we loop around to aisle C. Okay, so it can consolidate items that are close together to make the picking as efficient as possible. Okay, and that's done by pre-allocations. An allocation is really a reservation. So when a sales order is entered, we have business rules behind the scenes that say, how do you want to allocate or reserve the inventory? Because you may have the same item that exists in multiple places in your warehouse. That's the multi-bin that I was talking about a moment ago. So what allocations will do is, for instance, if you want to work on a FIFO method, very popular, the system will say, okay, the oldest material is at this location. So that's where I'm going to direct the user to go. And even if they have to go to two locations to get the full quantity they need, it will handle that as well. Okay. Or maybe you just want to pick in the most efficient way possible. So take me to the location where I can get everything in one pick instead of a little bit from here and a little bit from there for this one line item. Okay. So this pre-allocation will greatly help the efficiency of how you pick and make sure that you have sufficient inventory to fulfill the orders. Okay. All right. So now let's get into the actual StarShip mobile ship integration. Okay. So what happens is we're going to pick the order through the handheld application and enter package details. What's in box 1 versus box 2 versus box 3. And we're going to send that back over to Sage, and it's going to automatically flow into StarShip and print out our labels for us. Okay. Now, this is the normal workflow. A sales order is entered, and on our handheld application on the gun, someone would go into one of the shipping picking applications I showed you a moment ago, like SO shipping. Okay. They pick everything, and then data flows from there, the quantities and line items that were updated, and it goes into Sage shipping data entry. Okay. From there, it flows directly into StarShip. This is the normal flow that we've always used, and that's still there. Okay. Now, if you're using our advanced or premium version of our package, same thing happens. We have a sales order gets entered. We're going to pick it, but then we have that intermediary step where we pick it, and then we'll do a secondary step where we check and pack it. This can happen in succession because you may have one person that's a picker and somebody else that's a packer. Or you may pick it and stage it and come back a week or a month later and do the checking, packing, and actually ship it. That's when it goes to shipping data entry, and that's when the data flows over to StarShip. Okay, so there are a couple of requirements here for this to work. Number one, you must have one of our warehouse management system modules for the shipping. Okay, and you must be on the cloud version of StarShip. Okay, if you have the on-premise version, this will not interface. It can only interface to the cloud version, so it would necessitate a conversation with V Technologies to talk about migrating from the on-premise version to the cloud version. Okay. Now, this does not require ScanForce's label printing suite that I described to you before, where we might print for receipt of goods or coming out of manufacturing step. So if you have consumer level products that have a UPC code on it, you can use those. You don't have to have our labeling suite. Okay. So the printing of these labels actually comes from the StarShip side, not the ScanForce side. We pass the data to StarShip. StarShip then generates the labels. So our label printing suite is not required. Okay. Now, StarShip obviously is purchased from V Technologies. ScanForce is purchased from ScanForce. So this is a ScanForce enhancement. It's an add-on to our warehouse management system. So it is purchased from us as a subscription, and the cost is $1,800 per year. So the big advantages, you don't have to leave to go to the PC. Normally what happens is you do the picking in ScanForce, it goes into shipping data entry, then someone has to leave wherever they are out on the floor in the warehouse, go into the shipping office, for instance, log into a PC, go into StarShip, and then request the labels. It's a lot of back and forth. We're just cutting all those footsteps out so you can print the labels on demand directly from the handheld application. Okay, so you can also get other shipping documents like the hazmat documents or a packing list or those international shipping documents we mentioned. So all those things can happen automatically.